Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lightweight. Come grip with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the viewers in attendance and Facebook and YouTube users around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, slime lovers? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Elgato Azul. Over here is my partner in slime, Mr. Jamie Dunn with Carolina Lightweights.
What's up, everybody? Man, I'm glad to be back, brother. Ready for another.
Seems like ages.
I
got nervous tonight.
I'm all pumped up, ready to go, man.
Yeah, it should be a good show. I hope you had a good Christmas. I know you had a lot of stuff going on over the holidays with everything. We don't have to get into all that, but just want to say glad to be back with you, buddy.
Yeah, you too, brother. I tell you what, we stoked up, man. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready for another great year with our family on YouTube out there. Ready to do this.
Yeah, it's been fun. We had a fun run last year. We had a ton of awesome guests. I was really pleasantly surprised that so many of these really pillars in the catfishing business industry would want to come on and chat with us. We had a ton of really awesome anglers. I learned a lot. I've enjoyed it, man, and we're going to keep doing it.
That's right, man.
We had fun. I'd like to keep doing it. So.
Man, we had so many great people on. I thank each and every one that we've had on this past year. I feel this year is even going to be even bigger and even better for us, man. You know, we got so many great things happening, that's for sure.
I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is when I hear somebody say, you guys give up the secrets. You know, I watch these other shows and they just give you the basic crap. You guys go in and give up the secrets. And
that's it, man. We're definitely different, and that's what we strive to be, is different. And, you know, if we have any secrets that could help somebody else, I'm all about it. Let's help them.
I've learned from a ton of guys, and you know, each one, you're not going to fish like everybody, but if you can learn a little bit from each one of them and incorporate it into your game, it really ramps you up. I think that's what's cool. One of the coolest things about being on social media is the information that you can get these days.
That's it.
When me and you were starting, it was hush hush. Nobody wanted to share. You had to really go do it, you know, and just figure it out. But these days, the information's out there. There's guys willing to share. And I enjoy helping guys do well. We've got people in here that I know that I've helped because they told me. One of my buddies in here, he caught his PB last week. And the first thing he did was he messaged me. He's like, man, I just want to thank you for giving me the secrets and helping me catch this. And, you know, I didn't help him other than I just, you know, told him a few things. And
you know, man, I'm sitting here, I'm looking down that chat, Chris, and I'm just ecstatic, man. We got a lot of people in here. You know, everybody's saying hello to each other. I'm glad I hope everybody had.
Let's give some shout outs because these are our people. And, you know, Jody said she was first. So welcome in, Jody. I'd like to get Jody on the show. I think she's an awesome angler. She's not been doing it that long, but she fishes freaking hard as anybody I've ever met. And when you fish that hard and that often, and you have that kind of passion, you're going to figure it out. She seemed to fishing just seemed to kind of, you know, work for her.
That's it.
I think it's cool. We got my buddy Jeff in here. He says Jody's a bragger.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with being first. If you ain't first, you last.
I see we got Avid the fisherman in the house.
We got Ryan Smith in here. He's the one that caught the PB last weekend on my lake. He caught a 61, and I'll tell you guys, I've been fishing my lake for 40 years. A 61 is not easy to catch on my fishery. So congrats, Ryan. Hell of a fish, buddy. I think it's awesome that you caught that. I love seeing my buddies do well. So another one of my guys in here, Jeff Martin. We got Eagle Eye TN, to one of my teammates over at Operation Vets with Nets. He's also Texas angler, so got to show some love to the Texas boys. Anglerholics, Jesse Campbell. We fished together last weekend. Man, we had a great time. Our boys fought and wrestled like it was.
Man, I seen some video. I seen some pictures, man. It looked like y'all had a blast.
We had a blast. The fishing was terrible. We lost our best 3 fish. We caught some fish. The biggest went like 20 pounds. But we had a great time. The boys had a blast. They drove the boat. They caught some fish. And they battled. It was a battle royale all day long on the boat. I thought at any point one of them would go into the water. I mean, it was that kind of wrestling match. But
all you can do is stand by and
having
laugh,
a couple wild ass kids on the boat, especially 2 like that are willing to just go at it. So
making the memories, I can tell, man. Y'all were making some memories, that's for sure.
I told Jesse this is going to be a regular thing for us. I love having 2 boys. I enjoy fishing with somebody who's willing to put the kids first.
Yes.
I take a gazillion. You see me, I fish almost every weekend with a new guy or with a friend. But my favorite trips are when guys are all about the kids and willing to let the kids do everything, drive the boat, catch the fish, net the fish. Because if you don't get little kids like that involved, they go play their video games and they play with the dog and they're not even into it. But
that's unfortunately that's where a lot of kids are, on the video games. And man, if we can get them outdoors and enjoying God's creation, that's what it's all about.
That's for sure. Avid, welcome in, buddy. Let's just run down this list real quick. Cookies, what's up, buddy? That's Alexander Doty. We had him on. He was awesome to talk to. Great bank angler / kayak. I guess he's he gets there by kayak, but he's a bank angler, and he freaking hammers them like no. He's like Jerry Parker, which I think Jerry's in here too. We got Lance McCoo guy, the Hawaiian fisherman. What's up, Lance? Welcome in, buddy. We got Fish On Marine Electronics. That's my boy Voskin.
What's up, buddy?
He does all my installs. Really good dude. Licensed technician for, I don't know if he still is, but not motor guide. What trolling motor do I even have? Minn Kota and Humminbird. So
that's it.
Need to get my stuff in there and get worked on, man. It's that time of year where everything's like got Band-Aids on it.
Oh Lord, looks like JTC showed up in style. Here he goes.
We got Off the Hook Outdoors. Welcome in, buddy. We got Parker Pursuits. Jerry Parker, what's up, bro? Welcome in, man. Let's see here.
And these numbers keep growing, brother. We could be here all night. I love it.
We got Dimitri Lockett. Dimitri came fishing with me last winter, and we just slayed the big fish all day. We caught countless 40s and a couple 50s. Had a great day. He's coming back in town, I believe, Friday. My boat's in the shop. Lower unit crapped out on me, so
you working it too hard, brother.
Another 3K.
You working it too hard. I see we got Micah in the house.
Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in.
Yes.
We got Francisco Aguirre. Welcome. And moving on down, we got Micah. We got Daniel 45. Welcome in, Daniel. Facebook user. I cannot see. I don't have Facebook open, but appreciate you coming in. If you want to go over to El Gato Azul TV on YouTube, we can see. If not, that's fine. We got El Catfish Grande, one of my local boys. Hadn't seen you on the water, man. I bet you've been up crappie fishing, so I won't hold it against you. We got Donate Life Catfishing. Welcome in, buddy. That's one of our Carolina Lake Weights teammates.
Yeah, he's got a big old logo right here on the back of the new jerseys. Man, them things be looking good.
Yeah. We're going to be looking fly at CatCon.
There you go.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, them new jerseys looking real good, man. We got a lot of support out there.
That's Terry Woodrow with Donate Life Catfishing. If you're not familiar with Donate Life, Terry, it's like a passion project for him. He just raises awareness for organ transplant donors. So go over to what is it?
Donation Life Catfishing.
Donate Life Catfishing. I think
right
it's on the back of my shirt.
There it is right there. Donation Life Catfishing on Facebook. Check them out too.
And we got River Catfishing. Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in.
Man, I see some new names.
Catfishing. Welcome in, Cool Cat. We got JTC in the house. Somebody got JTC.
There goes the neighborhood.
We got Killer B. That's my boy Killer B. We've had some epic catfishing trips together. Welcome in, Bill. We need to get back out there. It's that time, buddy. We got a polar front hitting. We're going to talk about that tonight. It's about to be on. We're going to be catching the biggest fish in the lake soon.
Looks like the whole country just about is going to get hit with some Arctic air.
Yeah, as soon as that thing blows over, boy, it's go time.
I know we've had nothing but a lot of rain and a lot of severe weather here on the East Coast. We've been getting hit hard. All the rivers is flooded up and in the woods and everything.
Man, oh man, we got a bunch. I'm just now getting caught up with chat. So,
hey, I look.
We got Paul Story. Welcome in, Paul. We got Al St. Cyr, another one of my Texas boys. Welcome in, Al. Looks like y'all did pretty good on the tournament last weekend. I thought you or Daniel would win that, but it was a terrible day of fishing. I fished the same day as the tournament, so I won't hold it against you if you didn't win.
I see another one of our teammates, Russell, in the house. What's up, Russell?
We got Chuck Watkins. Welcome in, Chuck. Chuck's got bite lights. If y'all don't know bite lights,
hey, go check him out, man. He's got some rechargeable ones that's coming up shortly.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get me some of those for the summer.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to be slapping those on my Parks planer boards.
And we're actually going to have some of his items with us at CatCon, so come by and pick you up some.
All right. I know a guy that needs some, so I'll probably be getting some. I guess I better bring some money to CatCon. Brad Davis, welcome in, Brad. Welcome in, buddy. Russell Rhodes. Stonefly 71, welcome in, bro. And that is it. So appreciate everybody stopping in tonight. We're going to be talking tonight about targeting big blue catfish in the winter. This time of year, we've got a lot of things that work for us to help group up the fish. It can be difficult sometimes to find them when you're first trying to figure it out, but the longer you do it, you know what to look for. It becomes the best time of year to catch them consistently.
Yeah, man, now's the time, man. You can get up on one of them records right now, man, because they are out chewing right now.
It is time. We finally hit the winter pattern probably about 2 weeks ago in Texas. It's been a long time coming. Our fish have been very scattered. We've had warm days, some cool nights. We had a small cool front that kind of got everything grouped up for, maybe half a week, and then they scattered again. Now, when they scatter, it can be good for a guy who's not real experienced because you can just put in long drifts and you can catch them because they're all over the place.
Yep.
But the winter pattern kicks in and they really congregate in certain areas. And if you want to do well, you're either going to hammer them or you're going to get smoked.
Yep.
And so tonight we're going to be talking about kind of what to look for. We're going to be talking pre-front, during the front, and post-front, where they're going to be going before the front, during the front, and after the front. I'm going to go through some of the baits that I like to use.
And Chris, I'm gonna tell you, man. This past week, I know, everybody's been talking about the bait and stuff. Hit and miss on the bait and stuff, and we were able to catch on some live bluegill this past week, catching them 2 at a time, and I mean big hand sizes, between 15 to 20 foot of water, and the bait was just turned on, man, right before the front come through, and the fishing was pretty decent.
So the winter pattern is deep holes and patience for Micah Burkhart.
Yeah.
And, that's pretty much it. I see Trent Hall's in here, and he's probably one of the only guys that goes against, well, I'll say one of the only guys. There's a lot of guys that don't fish deep in the winter and kick ass. And Trent's one of them. The day that I'm deep, hammering them, catching monsters, he's up shallow doing the same thing. The difference is when you're fishing shallow in the winter, you got to be in the exact right spot where they're coming through to do well. If you're the type of angler like Trent's been fishing his whole life, he's a guide here in Texas, you know where to go to put yourself in the right spot. And if you're in the right spot, you can hammer them. It's not that much different from fishing deep, except for when you're deep, you're fishing more of the biomass.
Yeah.
Where you are around a ton of big fish in a smaller, I don't know if you call it a small area, but they're in a certain section of the lake, 10% of the lake, and 90% of the fish are in that area.
And Chris, right now, I'm kind of playing within deep and shallow right now because depending on what time of the day or the morning, I can find some up shallower faster, get my fish a little bit quicker, then move to deeper and go after more of that, size fish I'm looking for. But in the shallow water here lately, in the morning time for me has been paying off real well. And then I shift outwards more as the day goes long to keep trying to stay in front of them. But, that's
Francisco says he grew up being taught fish didn't bite in the winter. And now he can't stop and watching those winter videos. Well, I think most of us were brought up that way. It wasn't till you're introduced to really to trophy catfishing and trophy fishing. It's not just catfish. There's other fish that are easier to catch in the winter too. But trophy catfishing is a winter thing. And the main, I mean, they're there most of the year, except here in Texas. Well, there's a lot of places where they go disappear. But in the winter, they group up. And what happens right now is we get into what's called a winter pattern. And what happens is when we get a cold front, it concentrates the bait. So, 3 weeks ago, we were fishing in 4 feet of water. And you could have caught fish. I was catching fish in 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. I had buddies catching them in 30 feet.
Yeah.
And fish were just scattered in all of that. And there's a ton of 4 foot of water. So they got a lot of area to go to. What happens with the winter pattern, and the bait does the same thing. It's completely scattered. You will not find gizzard shad or big bait fish grouped up well. You get a big cold front that comes, it pushes a lot of that bait out of that shallower water, and it's looking for a comfort zone. Bait fish want to be comfortable just like a big catfish. So they go into a certain area after those fronts, which is a comfort zone, and the big fish follow them. Sometimes you might find all that bait and the big fish aren't with them, But if you keep moving around and finding that stacked up bait, you will find the big fish eventually around it. It might be the third group that you get on, might be the second group. If you're lucky, you go right to them and you start hammering fish from the get-go.
And that's knowing your area, knowing the weather conditioning, what you feel the fish are going to be doing, learning all that, really helps you. So knowing your lake 100% will really help you out. I mean,
guys always ask, when does the winter pattern start? And I said, it's not what water temp. And I said, it's really water temp is part of it, but a lot of it is the fronts. You really need a hard front. If it's a slow cool down, the lake mixes, the fish stay scattered. You need a hard front to blow in to make a rapid decline in the water temperature up shallow, where it stratifies the water, and the fish are going to move out of that shallower water down to either the first or the second transition. So if they're in 4 feet, that first front hits, they're going to move out into 15, 20 foot. You're going to look for that transition. You're going to fish that. And you're going to find when you hit that area, your graph will light up. A lot of guys that are like, ask me about it, they say, well, I don't even know what I'm looking at. The graph's just lit up. I'm like, fish it.
That's it.
You don't even need to know what you're looking at on the graph. If it's lit up like that and it's 6 foot thick of you don't even know what, fish it. More times than not, they're going to be there.
And my advice is don't overthink it. If your gut is telling you and the graph is looking good, don't overthink it. Throw it out there and go with it. You're not going to know unless you fish it. So, learn your graph. I mean, that when that graph is going to show you what you need to know. And if you know what you're looking for on that graph, you're going to be spot on.
Yeah.
You really
Normally, water hits the 50s, fish start turning on. They want to feed up because they know cold winter's coming. They start feeding hard and feeding heavy. They just aren't grouped up until you get the big cold fronts. So as the cold fronts hit, Chris, I fished 90 feet of water too up at Texoma. Well, not quite 90. We were in 83 feet and we smoked them. I mean, it was freaking on. And then I came back the next week, fished Louisville, and fished 4 feet. So not all lakes are the same.
Yeah.
I will say that. Lake Texoma is a different beast. But on most of our fisheries, they're very similar in the way you pattern fish.
Yeah. That's like Santee Cooper, man. That's what I was just telling you. Sometimes I'm up shallow and then I'm having to get back in front of them and working out deep. I mean, it's been up and down this year, shallow to deep to shallow. I mean, you just got to figure it out.
Parker Pursuit says here in the Midwest, water temperatures will get in the 30s, got to downsize baits and be persistent. Now, I would agree. When our water temps, if we've had a big cool down, the water temps getting to 30, we have a big thread fin die off. And it becomes, you throw the tiniest little piece of bait on there. You can put 4 or 5 little thread fin on there like that and hammer them if you're there in the right time in the right place when that shad kill's going on in that section of the lake. But the fish also gorge and become so full after a few days of that you can't catch them. They can't even fit another bite in their belly. So yeah, you do downsize. You go to the deepest spots in your fishery when the water gets like that, Jerry, and sometimes you got to anchor. Now I drag most of the time, but when our water doesn't get down into the 30s like that every year. We have a big polar front that's cold for a week straight. We might get there and we have a big shad kill, and then it's like hammerfest for 3 or 4 days. And then the fishing sucks for 2 weeks after that. Because, I mean, you might catch one, but he's just so full. You're like, damn, how'd he even eat that damn thing?
That's like what we caught this past weekend, man. His belly was so hard. He was so full. I mean, and he wasn't a big one, a real big one. I mean, but he was just like solid rock.
Yeah.
Where he had been feeding so good.
we caught a female that was probably the fattest female I can ever remember catching. If you didn't know the difference between a male and a female, you'd be like, "Damn, that's a huge male."
Yep.
But it's a tiny mouth, small head, but then a belly. Just, I mean, like a 50-pounder on the belly, but it was,
Yeah.
38-pound fish. Yeah. But our winter pattern started about 2 weeks ago. What that means is the bait fish start grouping up out in mid depth, and the big catfish start following them around like puppy dogs. It does take these types of cold fronts to get them to group up like that. And some years we've had it start as early as October before.
Yeah.
This year is a late year. The water was cool, but it was a steady cool down. And the water just mixed and everything just stayed scattered. Even though they were fired up, they were all scattered. But we've had cold fronts rolling through. We got a big one coming just like everybody. And the reason I want to do this show tonight, because it's about to be on.
I was about to say, Chris, I'm very interested to see when this cool front comes through. I believe it's going to be the coldest that we've had in a long time. I'm ready to see, because I know the fishing is going to turn on in a lot of lakes and a lot of places. Yeah. I mean, I know there's going to be some big fish caught real soon.
Let's start with pre-front, because even though it's kind of cold right now, we've had some cooler nights and we are in the winter pattern, but we do have a huge front coming. And our daytime temps are still warm. Our nighttime temps have been in the 30s. I know we're deep south, so everything's different for us than it is further north, but we've had daytime temps at 60 degrees, nighttime temps around 30. And, the fish are going to kind of scatter when you have those warm daytime temps like that. So guys ask, what are you targeting? Where are you looking? And for me, I'm looking in mid-depth. I'm going to be somewhere right around the channel, but I will not be on the channel. I'll be next to the channel. Mm-hmm. When I say next to the channel, it might be 100 yards, might be 200 yards. I'm looking for intersecting structure. I'm looking for something that's pretty close to the channel, and I may fish right next to that, or I may fish in between the two. So let's say you got the channel running up and you've got a shoreline contour over here. I'm going to fish that section right in between there.
Yeah.
Pre-front. And I'm going to fish kind of the flats. I'm going to be out. I don't need precision. I'm just going to hit those wide open areas that I know that the fish are kind of scattered around in those kind of holding places.
Now, Chris, some of these areas that you're fishing, that they're going to be there. You going to hit those areas 1, 2, 3 times? I mean, I know it depends on kind of the first go around how it is.
First, I'm going to scan it. I'm going to see what's there. And for me, at this point in the game, I don't have to scan an area more than 30 seconds to know but I used to have to scan the whole run, and I would have to scan it just to see what's there. But over time, when you see what you like, you fish it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for big piles of bait, large groups of bait. It doesn't have to be just a huge pile, and it doesn't have to be bait balls. Guys will say, "Oh, I won't fish it if I don't see bait balls." I will, because I freaking hammer them. I don't need bait balls. Sometimes big fish don't have to be actively feeding on bait to still eat. If you give them something that looks damaged and injured, you stick it right in front of their face, they're going to hammer it more times than not. So you don't have to see bait balls. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be super thick. You just want to see quite a bit of bait, more bait in that area than anywhere else you're looking. And that's where they're going to be.
Now let me ask you this, Chris. You got your cool front getting ready to come in. You got your pre-front. What part of your lake do you already know where you kind of going to start?
Yeah. So right now I'm pre-front. I'm fishing mid-lake. I haven't gone all the way deep yet. because I'm looking for biomass, and the bait, I saw it up in 4 feet 2-3 weeks ago. I've been following that bait migration. It went from shallow, then it went to 20 feet, then it went to 30 feet. And I've been fishing around that. Last 2 weeks, it was right around, it was anywhere from 29 to 24 feet. And when you got out of that stretch of water, there was bait, but not like it was in 24 to 29 feet. So you can go move around the lake when you find that magic depth where all that bait is. You can move around the lake and see the same stuff everywhere. Now, you're not going to have big fish with each group, but you will see in the same depth, you're going to see the same types of things. And that's basically how I go about finding fish. So here's the bait I threw on. This was in 29 feet. I got bait the day before my trip. When I went and looked for bait, this is what I found. The threadfin are up off the bottom, 8 feet up off the bottom. The gizzard shad and the sand bass and hybrids, they're in the bottom 8 foot of water. And I knew right then when I went and got bait, I knew what depth I was going to fish. Even though I was going to a different lake, I knew when I got there the next day, weather pattern's the same, that's where the fish were going to be. And so I calculated that's where I think they were going to be, mid-lake, 29 feet. I went there. As soon as I come off plane, it was Fish City, and we fished it. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but this time of year, they are much more predictable if you know the bait migration and how it likes to just congregate in certain areas. And they use the channel to move up and down the lake. Well, and I use the channel too to find them. So I started out in about 33 feet just for the hell of it and worked my way up the fishery until I hit 29 feet. And then the graph just lit up just like that. And I think this is what let me see. No, that wasn't it. Let me see if I've got what I fished. I don't have that picture of what I fished.
And guys, while Chris is looking for that, if y'all have any questions, put it in chat. I mean, we'll definitely. I
thought I downloaded that one. I don't have that one. But I went to a lake that was 70 miles away, got on the water, went to the exact same depth that I was marking them on my home fishery, and boom, it was the same. And that's pretty much, if you're in your area, the conditions don't change. Most of these lakes are going to fish fairly similar. The only major differences are going to be like structure or cover, like timber and crap like that you got to contend with. But that would be a good show for my boy Trent Hall to come on, because he's an anchoring machine. So that's basically how I fish pre-front. I'm looking on the flats next to the channel. This time of year, I'm generally in mid-depth before the front. As the front is hitting, I'm going to fish real tight on structure.
Yeah.
I'm going to fish right on it. That might be like last week we fished the levee on Levant. And if you were off, the last 2 weeks I fished that levee. We fished the day the front was hitting and the day after the front hit. And I hugged that levee just as hard as I could. Because if I got off 75 feet, there was nothing.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. How much difference was it from this day to this day with just maybe a slight difference in the weather?
Well, 1 week we had south wind. It was the day after the front. It was the first day of south wind. And you'll hear me say a lot, that's one of my favorite days to fish. If we've had wind out of the north blowing, and then you get a wind change and it kind of just skips that east wind day and starts blowing out of the south, those fish turn on like crazy. and they're still really grouped up from the front hitting, but they're fired up and ready to feed with that south wind. I don't know, why it's that way, but it is. Those are some of my most epic trips, is after we've had a major cold front and the wind flip-flops. But the next week, what we had was a west front hitting. And a lot of times that west front is the worst fishing you can have. Now, if you're in the right spot, you might catch the biggest fish in the lake that day. It's a weird deal where you're either going to catch a couple of good ones or you're going to get your ass handed to you. Yeah. And even the best guys, my best angling buddies that day, most of them didn't do well. What I saw is guys that really doing well were just guys that just went out and fished. They didn't try to do anything, or they're just in an area and they go. You know what I mean?
That's it. So. Yeah, spot locking it. Ever since that invention, definitely a lot more than the anchor, throwing that anchor. That's for sure.
Yeah, Trent, he goes shallow. He's got those damn power poles. He's freaking spoiled rotten.
I've got to get me some of them.
He's like, Chris, you probably go back to anchoring if you get you some of these dang power poles. You're probably right. But he's got the paddles on him too, so he uses for drifting just to keep the boat straight.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's more money, more problems.
I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've heard a lot of bad things about them, but I've heard a lot more good than I had bad. So that's definitely turning me, wanting to get a set for the boat. That's for sure. They just, man, them things are expensive. Oh.
So the day the front's hitting, guys, you got to if you're going to catch fish, you got to be hugging structure pretty tight, or you got to be somewhere like on the channel where they're moving up and down that thing, because they know that front's coming, and they start moving before they're trying to get to wherever their comfort zone where they think that's going to be before it gets cold. So you'll see them start moving even the day before. They may be feeding on the way there, but they'll start moving. And then that day that front hits, it's almost like they completely shut off and they go. So if you can find something maybe that they're running on, like the bottom of a ledge, or we were on a levee, you got a shot at catching some. Yeah. And we missed our three best fish. And, that's fishing.
That's
sometimes
it.
Sometimes you're going to miss them. Sometimes you'll hang them all. It was a weird bite day. They were coming up. Both last 2 weekends been a really weird bite. It's one of those deals where they just come up as your bait's going by like this. They just come up and bite it. And then you just start pulling them, and they don't turn, they don't run, they don't tail flop, nothing. It's almost like you hung a pair of pants. Yeah. And the rod tip just goes. It's not like you're hung where it goes. It's, you got a fish on. You got a fish on. They just don't turn and do anything.
Yeah, it's a weird bite for sure.
Crank down on them, and it I know what it's doing. I've done it long enough. You crank down on it, and it sucks it right out of their mouth because they're pointed at you. And you need a fish to turn for a circle hook to work, or you got to have a really good offset, which I got a good offset, but I was missing the fish. And that usually happens once or twice a year for us. And that was how it was. But
when do you anchor, Chris?
When do I anchor? I anchor in the spring. I anchor sometimes. I'll anchor in the fall. I generally will anchor when I have to. And, as far as shallow water fishing, I've gotten where, hell, I drag shallow now. Since going with Carolina Lake Weights, I've started dragging shallow just because I get hung up a lot less. Before, I was losing crap when I'd go shallow. I'll go shallow now in, hell, 1.5 foot of water, 2 foot of water. I'll be out in 3 feet, and I'll put my boards and stuff up shallow. But I generally am forced to go shallow when we have a thread fin spawn. And you got to be up in 6 inches to 1.5 foot of water. to catch them, or you will not catch a single. There's nothing. Every fish in the lake goes up and feeds on them threadfin when they're feeding. So, yeah, Texas lakes, I would use a box anchor, but Trent, I'm 49 years old, and throwing the box anchor, that right there is the main reason why I really got started dragging, and just I thought, everybody was anchoring, and I started dragging, and I'm like, well, before that, there was a lot of guys drifting, but nobody was dragging. And I just said, you know what? I freaking hate anchoring. I've been doing this shit forever. I hate it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how to run these boards and drag shallow, because there's expansive flats in shallow water that are just chock full of fish in spring.
Oh, yeah.
They're loaded. I mean, it's not like all the fish are in one little tiny location. Now, there are times when you got to be right there where the threadfin are spawning, but often they're just up in that muddy water where it's flushed into the lake. And it could be, hell, there's a section in my lake that's 500 acres. It's 2 feet deep, and you can hammer them up in there dragging. I've proven it.
Well, Chris, let me ask you this. Are you fishing? Do you have a lot of grass in areas of your lake still as of right now?
Grass?
Yeah.
No.
We actually, myself and Jeremy actually was fishing a couple weeks ago, and we were actually still getting grass, on the hooks and stuff. But yet, what we're finding is there are a lot of nice fish holding in that area around that grass.
Yeah, we have grass in some of our bass lakes that was introduced, but then it really put a whooping on some of the lakes. So they've tried to, they did chemical control in a lot of them and have got it under control. It was hydrilla. It's what was growing in a lot of these lakes, and they've killed a lot of it. It's starting to come back now, but about, I don't know, 8 years ago, they did a real, I don't know what chemical they put in there, but they killed an awful lot of it. Now, not all of it died because it's up in the creeks and stuff, and it's starting to come back. But a lot of our lakes, they've tried to do herbicide in the lakes to kill that stuff. So Trent says, do you ever anchor deep? And Trent, I used to anchor deep probably 8 years ago. When I would go to Tawakoni, I'd anchor that channel right there where the forest starts, where that channel hits that forest. I would also anchor that boating lane right in there where the channel goes through the boating lane and there's a clearing. I would anchor right there. But pulling anchors out of 50 foot of water sucks. And when I started dragging, which was, I drifted a lot before that, but I started dragging about 8 years ago with the trolling motor when I started planer boarding, just because I thought, well, I got these planer boards and I can really hit some stuff I could have never done before. And then there was days where I was not able to do what I wanted to do, just drifting. So I thought, well, I'm going to drag. And turns out that dragging is a hell of a way to fish. And you can do a lot of things that you used to do on anchor dragging into the wind. You can spot lock into the wind with planer boards. You can fish ledges into the wind-blown banks. I'll fish those with planer boards, spot locking, just because it's easy. And for me, it's fun. I took pride in being different, fishing different than a lot of guys were doing. And here we are 8 years later, and my buddy's like, man, everybody's fishing the way that you were doing that. And I think that's cool. It's not like I'm the one that invented it. I just kind of started using it and it started working for me. And turns out it's a hell of a way to fish. So shallowest water I'll drag, I'll put baits up in 1.5 feet. I'll be out in 3 foot with the boat, and I'll put baits up right up shallow.
Don't be afraid to fish shallow for sure.
Because the main thing when you go shallow, I tell guys when you go shallow, you can't just throw out your lines. You can't long line off your boards.
Yeah.
You have to short line your board. So if you plan on being in a foot and a half of water, there's a ton of snags in a foot and a half of water. And that's why most guys would never do it, because you before planer boarding, you drifted that stuff with long lines, and you're hung up. Every rod be buried and you're done.
That's it.
Planer boards, you can suspend baits, you can short line them. So if you're in a foot and a half of water, you're going to put, a foot and a half under your board, where that thing's just suspended through, and you're just barely bumping the bottom, and that's going to eliminate. It won't completely eliminate your snags, but it will almost completely eliminate your snags in shallow water.
And that goes to preparing, knowing what your game plan is. If you know you're going to hit shallower water that morning, go ahead and set up for that shallower water, and then adjust as you go.
Yeah, even if I'm in clean shallow water, I will run some longer stuff. But I know a lot of times when I'm shallow, I'm up in the stump fields. I fish the mouths of the creeks now, dragging, and there's like stuff sticking up out of the water, and so you got to dodge that stuff. But if you shorten everything up and everything's almost suspended off the bottom, if you're in 4 feet of water, you got basically 4 feet underneath your boards, and everything's just kind of, almost suspended.
A lot of times, Chris, what I see is a lot of anglers, man, what I say, they kind of get lazy. They just throw it out there and just start fishing. That's what a lot of people, I see sometimes do. But if you'll just pay fine attention and adjust for what you're going to fish, you will catch more fish.
A lot of it is how hard you're willing to work.
Yeah.
Fish. My buddy Trent, he's willing to work his ass off to go catch fish. I'm willing to work my ass off to go catch fish. My buddies are like, man, you're the hardest working son of a bitch I've ever seen on the lake. But you also, it's rare you ever do poorly. And it's just, I work hard. It is a technical way of fishing, but it's highly productive way of fishing. And it's, when things are working right, it's like the symphony. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. And when you're on big fish and you're catching 1, 2 at a time, and then 3 at a time. And sometimes we've had 6 big fish on at the same time, and trying to deal with all that. It's chaos. Yeah. But one of my favorite coin phrases on the lake is, this is chaos catfishing at its finest.
That's it.
Fish are going haywire. You got the whole bottom of the boat slimed up with fish laying in it. You don't even have time to get one off. The next one's going down. And for me, that's what planer boarding does. When you're in the right spot with the right bait at the right time, it's magical.
Sometimes it can feel like you've worked a 10-hour regular job. It's like your mind is just all wore out. Your body, you jumping
on a good day when we leave the lake. Yeah, you're beat. You are beat. Mark said him and his wife finished with 8 Saturday, all between 20 and 30 pounds. We left right after all. No clue what we were doing. We just dragged wherever. Yep, Matt. They were spread out, and when they're spread out, sometimes all this being smart and all the experience in the world doesn't do you a bit of good. It actually works against you. Sometimes it's best just to go, just to fish and go. But over time, when you start figuring out where they're going to be, what they're doing, where they're going, and over time, you will catch more. So, Mark, I love that y'all did well. I'm sure you learned a lot on that graph, seeing what you were catching, seeing what was fishy, where things were active. That's part of the learning, is catching what you're seeing. So,
Chris, I was sitting here and going through chat. We've talked about giving secrets out and everything. I would love to come up with, you know, where a lot of our chat would just send us the information. Let us see what you're learning, you know, and stuff from the show. Let us see what you're taking away from it and stuff. You know, if y'all guys ever get any pictures and stuff, send it to us, man. We would love to see it.
Saw you leaving South Point a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure what South Point is, but 2 weeks ago I was fishing East Texas on Levon. We smoked them. I mean, we smoked them. And we missed more fish than we caught, but we caught 15 over 20. The biggest went 48, and we had the lake record on. We lost it. And that's fishing.
Brad, I know you said still grassy in Alabama. Are you catching a lot of fish around the grassy areas in Alabama, or have they pulled away?
What'd you say? I was reading Chris's.
Brad had wrote still real, you know, a lot of grass in Alabama also. And
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, and I was asking if he's catching a lot of nice fish right now around that grass, or have they pulled away from it some? Normally those areas hold a lot of bait also and like to hide out.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's like fishing a timber lake. There's times if you're not willing to go up in the timber, like my boy Chris Moody, he's another really good guide here in Texas. He fishes Central Texas. And if you prefer to drag, some days it does handicap you because the fish want to be up in something.
Yeah.
And if you're not up in it, you ain't catching them. And Lake Tawakoni's a lake like that. You know, that's one of our, well, it used to be one of our really premier lakes. It's been outfished now, but, you know, that's, when I'm, you know, I like to drag. So I fish a lot of lakes that have a lot of clear areas. And when I'm travel fishing, I want to go to a lake where I know the fish, I got an idea what depth the fish are going to be in. I'm not going to go to a lake that's got a bunch of timber in that depth because that's where all the fish are going to be. I'm going to go to a lake where I know the depth that I know I'm pretty sure the fish are going to be is going to be clear. So Louisville, when the fish are up shallow, early fall, it's clear. I know where to fish.
That's it.
You know, I can make long drags and I can get out in that water and go catch fish. When it gets really cold, my lake becomes very difficult because we got a forest in 50, 60 foot of water. It's just thick. And you can't drag that stuff. You would have to anchor it, and I hate anchoring it. I used to anchor it, do pretty good, but I've gotten to a point where now I'm like leaving. I'm leaving that stuff. I'm going to go to a lake where I can drag because, for one, dragging, I catch a lot more fish dragging than I do anchoring. There's days where I've anchored, done better, but I just prefer to drag. So my buddy Jeff, he said dragging will make you a master at untangling lines. Ain't that the truth? I've gotten really good at untangling a pretzel knot.
I've seen some of yours. Oh man, you got to love it when them fish runs through your lines. I mean, it's all kinds of mess.
Yeah. You know, normally if I'm the one catching them, I can get them untangled. If I got my son catching them, it's just go ahead and bring in 3 lines all at the same time. And I'd rather him catch them than me have to mess around, lose the fish. So, yeah, dragging will make you a master at untangling lines. And I can tell you now at this point, I can get them untangled damn near every time without having to bring everything in, as long as it doesn't have a 7-year-old reeling on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely fishing braid and mono. Yeah, that makes a little bit of difference.
My buddy James Brandon, he came on the boat 2 weeks ago, got him a 48 PB. We had a great time. He's the police chief over at South Lake.
Congratulations on that PB, my friend.
And we had a great time fishing. We missed so many fish that day. It's just a really strange bite. We were having a hard time hooking. We 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 hooked some really giant fish. We lost our best fish, but we ended up having a great day. We got 15 over 20. Biggest was 48, which was James's PB. Which anytime you get a PB, those are just special trips. And
Yeah.
I'm always, whoever comes on the boat, I'm always trying to get them that PB. So
that's it. And
I'm
guys,
glad
also let us know when you get your PBs. Let us know. Go to Carolina Lake Weights Facebook, group and share it out. Let us see it. Let us know. Tell everybody
James,
about
look
it.
what I got you, buddy. Got you 2 Mad Cats rods, 1 in the weekly contest. These are yours, buddy. 2 of them. So
Nice, my friend.
we've won a dozen of those rods this past year.
Welcome in, Miss Paula. Yes, definitely get with us and let us know, and we'll get you some hats made up for sure.
Paula's in the house. Welcome in, Paula. Can't wait to see you at CatCon.
Yes, that's going to be fun. I can't wait until CatCon, man. We are looking so forward to it.
Suspended baits under the planter boards have done great when fish are suspended, and our fish will suspend in the summer. And I have done that, but the last 3 years, what I've been doing when I see them suspended is I go to the depth that I see them suspended, and then I fish on the bottom, and that works. I just prefer to drag than I do to suspend. I feel like when they're out in open water suspending, they're on the move, and it's hard to stay on them when they're doing that. So when I see them suspending, I'll take that depth that I see them suspended in, and I'll move up the lake and go to that depth of water, and I fish that, and that it works. So, but I'm not a river guy like a lot of you guys.
Man, it's hard to take that river out. I love that river fishing.
Winter catfishing is fun stuff, says Dan, and ain't no doubt about that, man. It is fun. Check these.
Miss Paula, I'm so happy that everything checked out good. We definitely keep you in our prayers at all times. That's for sure.
Trent, what's your PB? It might be hard to get you on, buddy. I bet if we're gonna get you a PB, Trent, we need to go up to Texoma in March. That's probably our best shot at catching a super giant. It's epic up there in March.
And guys, if y'all have any questions,
Sunday, big fish came unbuttoned, and a lot of guys said the same thing. The guys that did well caught 2 good fish, but lost 6 or 8 good fish. And that was pretty much our story too. We caught some good fish. We lost a lot more than we caught. And the week before, we really hammered big fish, but we lost twice as many. My buddies, James, is like, man, just think if we'd have caught all those fish, that would have been the most epic big fish trip ever, because we hooked into probably 40 really big fish. And we just couldn't get it done. It was one of those weird bites. So it happens. It's going to happen from time to time.
Chris, right now, I said earlier about our rivers, being out the banks, being flooded. I'm actually pretty excited about it. That's one of our good, times that we love to go fish the rivers is when they are flooded, because we actually catch a lot of nice fish in that running water on the backside, some of the structures and stuff. I know there's some in here that is listening, but man, we love fishing that high water right now.
Yeah, high water is usually the fish are more active when the water's up. Jeff said his trolling motor decided that it was done one day and shut off before he got everything straightened up. He had tied a beautiful trilene knot with all of his lines. We've all done. Anybody who's planer boarded has done that one, Jeff. What's up, buddy? Welcome in.
What's up?
Yeah, CatCon's going to be awesome. Randall, I'm excited. I'm going to give you a big old bear hug, buddy.
Yeah, man, we definitely hope to see it. I can't wait to see everybody. It's like a family reunion.
Paula had her yearly checkup and everything looks great. That is awesome, Paula.
Yes.
Love hearing that.
Jeff, Rebecca is actually she had surgery last week. She's actually doing pretty good right now. Thank you for asking. We've had a lot of prayers and everything answered, and things is looking good. And hopefully we can get her to CatCon where she can meet everybody. So things are looking up for us. We hope.
It's going great. If I can get my damn lower unit back, I've got one ordered. It should be here Thursday or Friday.
Appreciate you asking too.
What's up, Dan? Welcome in, buddy.
Hey, Russell. Hey, man, I know you know about the high water, brother. Get down there whenever you can because the fishing's pretty good right now. I know Russell asked me earlier about the bait where we've been catching the bait and stuff earlier. And I'm going to tell you, the intercoastal waterway, there you go.
Francisco, CatCon is February 23rd, 24th, I believe, or maybe it's 24th and 25th. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's at the convention center. So,
yeah. And guys, come by the Carolina Lake.
I've got a great tip for disposal of monofilament line, Jeff. You put it in the trash can.
I've noticed a lot of the landings now have disposal bins just for lines.
My prop, when they pulled it off to replace the lower unit, he's like, look at this. This is why your lower unit's crapped out. He's like, you've been fishing shallow? I'm like, I've been fishing shallow the last 6 weeks. I am sick of it. He's like, yeah. When we get conditions like this again, you're up shallow all fall. You might want to check your prop occasionally because it's blown your seal out, and now you got to have to replace your lower unit. So, whoops, lesson learned. All you boys that have been fishing shallow all fall, you best take them props off and go pull all that mono off because you probably got a bunch wrapped around it.
I actually have made it to do about every 3 to 4 months to do that myself. So that's something I do about every 3 to 4 months.
So Tienda said, post cold front water temp drops to mid to lower 40s, targeting channel ledges. Where do you find bait in deep water? How long and after the main front pushes through? Well, I can tell you that for me is the most predictable way to find fish. After this polar front, they're going to be deep. They're going to pile into the channel so thick it's solid red. You won't even know what you're looking at. Yeah. Fish will be 10 feet thick. Every fish in the lake will be piled in there. I mean, every fish. They will be slammed into that. That's where you're going to get bait. Throw one time, you're going to have sand bass, crappie, gizzard shad, catfish, drum, bass. You will have everything in one net. That after this polar front is when you will catch every fish in the lake in the net. They'll all be in the same location. Yeah. What do you want to use for bait? You're going to want to use the same thing that's in that hole, which is anything that's big. Yeah. Bigger fish are going to see those giant, they're going to see those predatorial type fish, and they're going to be targeting those. They actually prefer a bigger bait because game fish are lethargic. They're way more lethargic than a big catfish. A crappie is just sitting there almost like it's dead. It's frozen. It'll just lay there. Big catfish just comes up, eats it.
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to feed. They don't have to go real far to feed. Uh, and a lot of times when you're catching them, they're full. But the beauty with dragging is you're presenting your bait like it's an injured fish. And there's a mechanism, I believe, in a blue cat. It's like your house cat. When you dangle a string of yarn, he may have just eaten. You go dangle that string of yarn, and he's going to freaking attack that thing.
That's it.
Because it looks like it's something that's injured. And it's the same when you're dragging. If you can present your bait like something that's dying or injured, you can find a fish that's full, who's been feeding all day long, who might not eat something that's all frisky. But if it's something that looks like it's on its last throw, it's like, hell with it. It's too easy. I'm just going to go ahead and capitalize while it's in front of my face. And that's what dragging does for you.
And not too long, we were talking about that on a show not too long ago, that paying attention sometimes the way you do your bait can make a lot of difference also. And, you know, I was going over the same thing, you know, wanting that bait look as real as possible. You know, that helps out a lot sometimes with the bite and stuff. You know, I see a lot of people just go up, just cut, and that's all they'll do. But sometimes, you know, you got to give that bait a little bit of life.
Yeah, just a little dance to it.
Yep.
Yeah. Paula said they're having a threadfin kill. Temps dropping, but the Duck River is going to be on.
Nice.
And if you can hit that threadfin kill while it's happening, or the day or two after, it's about as epic as fishing as you can be. But you got to be right there where they're dying, because the fish, they make a lot of noise when they're dying. Those threadfin are like, you can see them, they're just kind of dancing on top of the water, flopping around. Fish are magnetized towards all that sound and vibration. So,
yeah, Brad, the rivers are a lot of fun. I definitely come from a river background, you know, from a lot of that, and been doing a lot of lake fishing lately. But man, can't take the rivers out. We love them rivers, that's for sure. Myself and Rebecca the other day, we definitely done a lot of dragging and everything also on the river, and we done pretty well. So we were averaging anywhere between 15 to 25 foot of water, and we done pretty well. And the bait fish right now, as far as, you know, the live bluegill and stuff, we've been catching them in probably 15 to 25 foot of water in that range. So if you find one, they're going to be gathered up. You can take 2 poles and catch all you want right in the same hole.
Yep. I'd like to say, as it gets colder, I hear a lot of guys say, go smaller on baits. Now, I realize I'm deep south, and our colder might not be the same as other people's colder. But when our water temps hit the 40s, it's time to throw on the biggest damn bait you can throw on. And we go really big, up to 10 inches, whole baits. You know, I would say that's 8.5, 9 inches right there. That's a whole fish. I chopped the tail off. I'm dragging like this. I'll put, guys are like, how do you rig that? And I rig mine with a stinger hook. And the way I do it is I'm like this. I put one in the nose like that. So this is the nose of the fish. Actually, this will be the nose of the fish. Put one in the nose. Here's my stinger rig. It's 2 hooks. These are about 8 or 9 inches, 10 inches apart. This back hook, it's going to go back here in the tail. Going to be sticking out about like that. And I run all cuts and all sizes of baits, but the stinger rig with the whole bait catches the lake records 100% of the time. It catches most of our fish over 50 have all come on the stinger rig. It's probably 95% of our fish over 50. We did catch the 80 on a smaller bait in the spring, but that was spring. This is winter. This is different. We go big.
Now, Chris, let me ask you. You got to say a lot of people out in chat might not know. Are you going to play around sometimes with smaller bait, mixing it up, or are you going all big?
Every trip. So I know this time of year, the best fish in the lake, they want the biggest bait. So I'm all on my planer boards when I'm spreading everything out. My longest planer board is going to have my very biggest, baddest bait. It's the furthest rod from the boat. They're out the back. Okay. From there in, I downsize just because I want to make sure what they want that day. Okay. But anybody who's fished with me has seen those whole baits with my biggest fish get crushed all day long by giant fish, and they are hitting it so hard it's blowing the eyeballs out. The gill plates are just exploded out, and it's not like they swallow that whole bait. They don't come along and just eat this whole thing. A big fish likes to do an injury bite. So what an injury bite is he's coming up from behind. He swallows half of this bait and bites the hell out of it and just clamps down and then just kind of holds it in his mouth like your dog does when he's got something he's carrying it around the yard. And he's going to make sure that thing's dead before he swallows it. And so that's what the stinger hook's for. Now, I run smaller baits, but they just don't catch the giants this time of year like the smaller ones do. We catch most of our 20s and 30s on the smaller baits.
Yep.
But on a days where we're catching a bunch of 40s, a couple 50s, maybe a 60 or 70, they coming off of this whole 10-inch, 8 to 10-inch bait almost every time. And they're not always hooking that front hook. A lot of times they're hooking the back hook because they do like to do an injury bite, and they like a big whole bait. If they didn't like that, if they didn't prefer that, I wouldn't be throwing that because it's hard to get those damn baits that big.
Yeah.
And my buddy's like, man, you work hard to get those big baits. I'm like, yeah, wait till you see what they catch. And we're going to bust your PB today. It's going to come off of this. It's going to come off this bait we just got. And sure enough, 9 times out of 10, that 70, 60, 70, 80 is going to come off that giant bait. Now, it's not always. Occasionally, they'll eat the little one. If it's a weird bite day, sometimes they'll eat the smaller baits. But most days, when you see us really just smoking tons of big fish, they're all coming off these whole baits. And it's not, and I don't put them on every rod, even when I'm smoking them. I just put them on 4 rods, 4 outside ones.
Sometimes, Chris, I hear people say, man, I'm scared to throw big baits. Don't be scared to throw big baits. Mix it up.
What's the biggest thing that could happen? I mean, you don't catch a fish on that rod that day, but more than likely, when that one goes down, and I tell my buddies when that one goes down, it's going to be a good one, and it's the first one that goes down.
That's it.
And it's generally that rod with that. If on my best bait, which is a bait like this big, it's not easy to get one like that.
Mm-hmm.
On a good day, I'll catch every big fish on that one bait. And I'm thinking, what if I'd have had 4 of those out? What would I have done?
That's it. So. Don't be scared to throw it. I mean, throw it and, mix it up some, but definitely put you some big baits on there because when that rod goes down, it's going to get exciting. So
yeah, it's fun saying that to your buddy. When that one goes down, get ready because it's going to be a damn good one. My buddy Chris, he says the same thing. He does the same thing. He's a big time guy down in Central Texas. He likes putting his 2 biggest baits on the 2 outside rods, and I put a whole gizzard or a big drum head. I use the whole drum, but I'm using smaller drum, Chris. And that day, I think you might have been watching that day. We caught the 2 lake records on our live stream. We were using whole drum, big. I mean, as far as drum go, they're small. I mean, they're like this big with the tail chopped off, and there's millions of drum right now that are that big. I think that's why the catfish key in on them. But I like a bait that's about a little bigger than my hand. So, enough to entice something that's over 30 pounds. But I'll put the smaller baits because I'm looking for, I like to catch fish that are 20 pounds and over. And on a good day, I want to catch, 10 of them, on a really good day, I'm catching 10 like that. On a decent day, I may catch just 3 like that.
And it's the same thing on the river, Chris. When we're going after flatheads, I'll look and say, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna put some out, just hand size or maybe half hand size, but I'm gonna have about 3 or 4 of them out there that's gonna have bluegill on them about this size, because I know when that bluegill with those lines, when they go down, oh, it's getting ready to be on.
Yep, whole skipjack. I know a lot of guys that fish for really big fish, Jody. They use that whole skipjack. Put you need when you're fishing really big, the giant fish, they don't just swallow the whole thing. I mean, they crush that thing and try to kill it first. So it is pretty crucial to have a stinger rig on when you're fishing really big, because over half the time you're catching them on the back hook, and you're not putting a stinger rig on so you catch smaller fish. Smaller fish don't even hit that big bait. And if they do, they can't even get it in their mouth.
Yeah.
The big bait is there to entice a fish who doesn't want a little bait. And I know I always hear guys, I see these guide videos and they're catching all these eaters and they're saying, oh, big fish, they like elephants like peanuts too. And I know world records and stuff were caught on smaller baits, but if you're really targeting big fish, they don't want the smallest bait in the lake. They're lazy feeders. They want something that's pretty substantial. And if you're scared to go big on all of them, just go big on 2 or 3, 4 rods and just see. But don't judge it on one trip. Judge it over a period of time. And I guarantee you, your big fish production will go through the roof.
And I will say this. Sometimes as far as a river, it might take a little bit longer for you to get a bite on that bigger bait than it would a smaller bait. But I'll tell you, if patience, it will pay off. They will hit that bigger bait.
I think over a time period, if you look over a time period, when I started going big, my big fish production went through the roof. Now, when I first started doing it, I would question myself. Well, I didn't catch any fish on that bait that day. But on a day where they're really hitting it, I caught 5 of them, and I would have not caught them at any of those on the smaller bait because they didn't want the smaller bait that day.
That's it. That's it.
For me, it's a certain time of year where they turn on for a bigger bait, which is water in the, low 50s, high 40, or, in the 40s. You get water that's in the 40s, low 50s. That seems to be really good for big baits. And Ryan said his PB last week come off an 8-inch shad, and that's about it, man. I would say that 8-inch bait seems to be what a fish over 20 likes to eat. When you put the 8 to 10-inch bait, you're going to really catch a ton of 20 to anything bigger size fish. So you're using it to kind of weed out some of the smaller fish because you won't even catch mid-teeners on it. They just don't want it. They want a smaller bait, but a bigger fish is hammering that thing. So, when I went big, it started going. I started going from having a 10 to 15 fish day where 8, 10 of them were eaters in the winter. to now I'll catch one eater on a giant bait the whole day. I'll catch one eater, and every other fish is 20 to 60 pounds. And we catch a bunch of them like that. So you have to give up the smaller ones to really increase the bigger ones. 15 to 18 hole. I had a 20-inch one hole. I had a 20 and an 18 and a half hole, Trent, and it was like crazy big. My stinger hook wouldn't fit. I had to cut the baits because my stinger hook. I retied this week because I'm like, damn, I needed bigger baits, and I know what's coming, and I'm going huge.
And that this you know, a lot of people say, man, well, I want to catch a lot of fish. Well, then, you know, using smaller baits, you're going to catch a lot of fish. You know,
that's for summertime.
Yeah.
And that's for summertime. We're talking about trophy catfishing.
That's it.
I don't care to catch anything under 15 pounds. You know, generally, our smallest fish for the day is 18 pounds.
Yep.
That's what's going to hit a bigger bait. But on a good day, you're going to catch 10 fish over 18 pounds. Mm-hmm. On a great day, you may catch, on our best days in the winter, we'll catch 30 fish over 20 pounds.
And that's just like a comment a while ago in chat. You know, myself, I'm going to pick days. I'm going to say, okay, I'm going after monsters today. I know I might not get 5 or 6 bites all day. I might not catch but 2 fish all day. But I know on that big bait, it's going to be worth it. So, you know, set yourself up what kind of day you want to have. You know, I've caught 60 pounders off of 2-inch pieces, 3-inch pieces.
Yeah.
That's long Johns. I was reading that and trying not.
Jeremy, try use some double hook rigs. I know you anchor a lot, so I always tell guys anchoring, the fish are coming to you, and they're just kind of scavenging. When you're dragging, they're looking. It's more of a predatorial type bite. They're looking for fish that are coming by, that are swimming, and then they hammer it. When they're scavenging, they're eating every little thing. So even little baits work. But I believe in dragging. Bigger whole baits makes a huge difference. I know it's dramatically increased my big fish catching over the last 8 years. When I decided, hell with it, I'm going really big. I had a guide friend of mine that was like, what do you want to catch today, Chris? I'm like, I want to catch a PB, you know? He's like, well, I got these, I got a bow hunting guide that's got me some big old carp, but they're giant carp. And he's like, I got some 4-pound heads. He's like, I ain't talking about a 4-pound carp. I'm talking about a 4-pound head. I'm like, he's like, we can put those on, and when one goes down, you're gonna have a PB. And sure enough, one of them went down, and we got a PB. The amount of bites you're gonna get, the bigger you go, the fewer bites you're gonna get. There is a point where you're going too big.
Yeah.
I say for most of the lakes I fish, an 8 to 10-inch bait will catch every fish in the lake over 20 pounds. They just love that size bait for some reason. And the reason I started using that specific size is because I would see them throwing that stuff up in my boat. So I'm like, hell, I see them throwing this stuff up enough. I'm gonna use that.
I seen a comment a while ago asking what size, I believe, bobber would you be using with big baits?
I don't use a bobber. I use these Demon Dragon brutes. They'll float a giant bait. I use those, but I'll also use, like, I've got these inline rattles from Carolina Lake Weights, and I think they're called Rattle Daddies. I use those to help float the bait up a little bit more because these are buoyant. They float a little bit. They'll help bring your bait up a little extra off the bottom rather than having a bait that's dragging like this. It's dragging like this, you know. I also like not a thin wire. I like a medium wire hook. I think that makes a big difference when you're dragging. I know a lot of river guys, they want that heavy hook when they're anchoring because they're in a lot of cover and it bends the hooks. But when I'm dragging in the lake, I want a kind of a medium wire hook so that my bait's not dangling down like this, because presentation for me is what takes you kind of to the next level. If you can present your bait naturally, like it's injured going by, you're going to catch more fish. If it's going by like this, I don't know any fish in the lake that swims like that as it's going by.
And also, we've as far as the float, the route. If you would go check out Carolina Lake Weights, we've got what they call the Carolina Shockwave. It rattles, it spins, and it floats. So you get all three in one package. So check them out if you're interested in trying those. And they work real well.
I put a rattle on all my stuff. You know, I don't even know the names of all the Carolina Lake Weights ones, but I've used them all. They all catch fish.
We got so many names, man.
Better priced than most. I use Demon Dragon. I've been using Demon Dragon since they were making them in Scott Manning's kitchen. They work good. I've also used I've pretty much used every rattle in the game. They will all catch fish on a certain day. One of them outfishes the other. I don't know why they choose that, but I know rattles work because I've brought a lot of fish to the boat that did not even have the bait in its mouth. It had the rattle. It wanted the rattle over the food. Yep. So rattles are not a gimmick. Anybody who tells you that rattle is a gimmick is somebody who's biased. They just don't want to believe it. But I can tell you, I've used them for a long time. I've been using rattles for probably 15 years now. When we first started using them, you had to use Zara spooks from garage sales. And then I started ordering them from Great Britain because they were using them for Wells catfish. They were a single little ball type deal that you attach to your line. And then Whisker Seeker started making them. And then as soon as Whisker Seeker started making them, it kind of caught on. That was about 8 years ago. Now everybody's using a rattle. There's reasons, because they work.
You know, Chris, just like our shockwaves, man, it's hard keeping them things in stock because actually people are finding out these things work.
They float good too. Yep. They put up a good, they got a good amount of float to them, so they will float a good sized bait.
And what you find out with that too is if you're using a peg float and you dragging or drift, you're going to tear that peg float up quick. You're going to get it where it's breaking, cracking.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The shockwave, it's just going to keep on going. It's not going to do that.
Does it make a difference even without current in a lake? And yes, they rattle even without current. And especially if you're dragging, they're going to make noise. And basically what a rattle it does is it makes the same sound as bait fish being predated. So if you can get online, you can listen to audio recordings of bait fish like gizzard shad being predated. It sounds exactly like a rattle rattling underwater. So it's basically just an extra little attractor to get their attention. They're coming looking to see what's being eaten.
You can go and actually see the rattles work underwater. We have a video out. So you can go and check it out where you can see the current and it's twisting and you got the volume on. You could hear it rattling underwater and everything. So check it out. We will also have that video at CatCon where you can check it out also. But we do have a video out there for it. So I believe it's on our Facebook page also. So you can definitely see them work.
Yeah, those shockwaves got a lot of buoyancy for such a smaller weight. That's the one that's shaped like a bullet, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I use the twisters a lot. I use those. I use these rattle daddies. I kind of mix it up. I like to have kind of a variety on mine.
And we also have the rigs now with all of these on. So, we've got the new rig with the shockwave on, but the twisters, those things, man, they're thicker, they rattle. We've got more of a fin. We added a fin, and it's got that turn to it, so it's constantly going to be going. There's a lot of things out there, but I'm gonna tell you, those Carolina twisters are bad to the bone also. And you can use those if you're using peg floats, tying it either in front of your peg float, behind your peg float. Myself, I like it behind my peg float near.
I've caught fish on all of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, they all work good. I think Carolina Lake Weight's probably got one of the less expensive versions. I would say out of all of them, these are probably the least effective. I really use these more instead of for the rattle. I use these for the buoyancy, just to pick my bait up. Instead of my bait, if these weren't on there, my bait would be riding down like this as I'm dragging. Instead, it's pulling this up a little bit. It's floating your bait, which gives it a little more of a natural presentation.
And I'm gonna say it like this: we've done a lot of testing with these. We're not just gonna throw something out there that we don't believe in. We're not a gimmick style.
I ran them. They catch fish. I've hammered fish on them, man. I've had days where they outproduced everything.
Yep.
So I know they work good.
We got thousands of pictures showing the rattles working with no problem. And like you said, some days you might not catch a fish on the rattle, but majority of the time you're gonna catch them on that rattle.
I agree.
Guarantee you.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
it don't matter if you're sitting there anchored. They put out a little bit of action. If you're in the river, you got current. If you're in the lake, you got waves. If you're dragging, you got contour. You got rough bottom that's rattling that thing. So
yeah, that one that you have, that's the Carolina Shockwave that you probably have. That has really taken off real well. It really has. And now, like I said, we have them, great demand. Everybody was wanting them on rigs, so now we offering them on rigs. We'll have them at CatCon. We actually introduced those, I believe, 2 weeks ago. We sold out within 2 days of those.
I would say the Carolina Lakeway ones are superior probably for current. They rattle without current, but in current, they spin, which is going to rattle the hell out of them.
And like I tell a lot of anchor fishermen, you're on the river, you're sitting there anchored up, and you got some current, man. That thing's just down there just twisting, and it's making that sound. It's rattling. So like I said, if you haven't seen them, check out that video on our Facebook page, and you will love them. I promise you. And what I like too, Chris, is the cost. You match them up against the Demon Dragons and stuff, you're not going to pay that price.
Yeah.
They're
cheap. They're definitely cheaper.
Yes.
I like them. They work. Jamie, I'm with Demon Dragon. I've been with Demon Dragon for a long time. I use these for my big baits.
That's right.
I've used Carolina Lake Weights. They work great.
I've got
fish on all rattles.
Yes.
At this point in the game, I've caught them on all rattles. And on certain days, one of them usually outfishes the other. It's not like one of them always outproduces the other. The fish, I don't know what makes them want one over the other, but that's why I put I put a variety. Guys like, man, all your rigs are different. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna catch every damn fish on one of these rigs today. I don't know what makes them.
Hey, Chris, one thing a lot of people, we've got what you call the Spooky River rattles. Check them out, but they're not as loud as the Demon Dragons. But
hey, I've found that on certain days they don't want the loudest.
That's exactly right. And
now that's not normal, but on a certain day, that one actually will outfish the higher dollar ones. But
that's a lot of people say, man, I've got pictures, where Jeremy's like, using Demon Dragons. I'm using our Spooky River rattles. I'm using our Carolina Shockwaves and our different ones. Some days the louder ones might work. Some days that quieter one works. Matter of fact, I won down in Santee, I believe a month or so ago, big fish using that quieter rattle, that Spooky River rattle. So it works.
Killer B says, "What size Carolina lake weight should I use for the yak, guys?" And I'll tell you, I use 2 ounce for most applications. Only when I go really deep up at Lake Texoma and I'm in 60, 70, 80 foot of water and I'm in pretty big water that day where I'm rolling and the lake's doing this and I got a lot of line out. You got to have a heavier 3 ounce for those applications. But 2 ounce, you want to go with the lightest weight you can. It's going to pin your bait to the bottom.
Yeah.
So that it's not coming up off the bottom in an unnatural manner. It's just every wave you're dragging like that.
And Killer, I'll tell you, on the river, when I'm not lake fishing, I'm using 2 ounce. When I go to the river, I'm using either a new a 4 ounce. Sometimes I'm using the 8 and 10 ounce. So depending on where you're fishing, sometimes also if you're in a real heavy current or not.
Yeah. Brad says patience is key in the river.
You right. You gotta have some good patience sometimes. and that's going back to using, those big bluegill wanting that big bite sometimes. I could throw smaller ones on there and definitely get a lot more bites, but I like that big bait. And I can tell you when Rebecca hooks in, she wants that big bait on hers.
What about some strategies for this Saturday, Old Sun? Well, I can give you some strategies for Texas. Fish are going to be probably hungry Saturday. We're going to have nighttime temps have been cold. We got a huge polar front coming. I believe they're going to be probably feeding up Saturday. I could be wrong. It's not like this stuff's guaranteed. There's no exact formula to any of it. But I believe they should be feeding pretty good Saturday. I think they'll be out on the flats around the gizzard shad piles. If I get my if I get my lower unit back, I'm going to be looking probably somewhere around 26 to 35 feet on my lakes. And if I get the boat back, I expect to do well. I expect it to be a really good day of fishing. So that's what I would do. I would be somewhere close to the channel. You don't have to be right on it, but somewhere close to it, mid-depth, mid-lake, 25 to 35 foot, somewhere in that range. Now, we've had some warm afternoons, which kind of spreads fish out. So you really got to find them in the area and then just grind, man. Just throw down on them and go, and you'll get them.
That's it.
You'll get them.
Hey, Brad, yeah, big baits, large weights. Definitely on the river, my friend. That new 8 to 10 ounce that we're doing now, I have actually stepped a lot away from the lead weights and stuff, the pyramids and all that. I'm actually using our 8s and 10s on the rivers just because, using bigger baits, but not getting hung up as much neither. So I fish a lot of structure, and then anytime that you're fishing that style of a dragon weight, it definitely works on the rivers big time.
Banking cats. I told my buddy Jesse, I asked him if he would fish with me so we could get redemption on my boat. We fished on his boat last weekend. We fished that damn west wind. Bite sucked, man. We caught a couple of good fish, but we were on fish. We just couldn't make them bite. And I told him, if I get the boat back, we're getting redemption Saturday. So I do have somebody lined up. He said he might have to work. If he has to work, hit me up, man. If I get the boat back, you're welcome to jump on. Our water temps down here's been at 50. We've had cold nights since I fished last, James. So if I had to, Trent's been on the water. He could probably tell you what the water's been the last few days. But we're probably in the high 40s now. And this front that's about to hit is going to put the water right around 40 degrees, I'm betting. But that's the surface temperature, and deeper water is warmer. And that's why you go deep when you get cold fronts. James, I think that's you. 36 degrees. So 36 degrees is probably that's time to downsize baits
Yep.
and to anchor fish. That's right. I would say 37 degrees is about the temperature you start having to anchor in the deeper holes, and you're putting smaller baits on, hoping that they're like, hell with it, I'll just eat something. So uh,
the green and black ones, yeah, Jeremy. I know you like them green and black drifting weights. Man, them. I think the bright green ones and the black and green ones has been them things we can't keep them in stock.
Trent says 50-51, so I was pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this front's going to change everything. It'll stratify things. It's going to really push some of those fish that want to get comfortable out of the shallower timber. If you're on a lake that's like where I plan on fishing, everything's been up pretty, I'd say, shallow, in less than 25 feet up until the last 2 weeks. There's still quite a few fish that like to linger up in that shallower water, but when we get that cold front, it's a survival type deal, and they're like, hell with this, I am out of here.
I imagine it's going to push a lot more fish to the mud.
It'll push some fish to the mud while it's hitting.
Yeah.
The day after that thing hits, we're supposed to have north wind for a good amount of time. So second day of north wind's usually okay. Third day, usually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
If you got 3 days, which normally north fronts don't last that long, but a polar front hits and it can be a week long of north wind, and fish going to eat. They're not going to starve for a whole week. They may starve while it's hitting. They may not really want to eat too heavily the second day, but some of them will. But by the third day, they're eating, and they are starved. A big, giant, fat guy wants to eat. He ain't eating in 3 days. He's ready to eat.
And that's why the rivers right now, because of the high waters, there's a comment. I am actually fishing a lot of the runoffs because of that. Having that little bit warmer weather or water coming in, the fish is going to really gather up in some of them areas. So right now, that's why I'm excited about the high water. I'm actually fishing a lot of those runoff areas.
Yeah, Chris says 51 on Richland Chambers. Martin Creek, that's a hot water discharge lake, so I don't fish hot water discharge. I do know you go towards the hot water discharge when you've had these big cold fronts. That's where all the fish will be.
Yep.
Paul says he's going to fish Belton Lake, Main Lake. Where do I need to start? I'd say if you're fishing this weekend, I'd be out in 25 to 35 feet. And don't just go blindly. Go find where the bait's stacked up and fish that, because it's going to be we're in that time of year where the bait is really going to conglomerate and pile up together, and that makes it smaller sections of the lake to catch fish. But when you're in the right section, it's like hammer time. So find those stacked up bait piles, and that's where you're going to fish. I know Belton's got a lot of timber, so you may have to anchor Belton. It really depends where the bait is. It's like fishing Lake Tawakoni. You got to be willing to anchor timber, because some days that's where the fish are. And if you don't go into where the fish are, you ain't going to catch them. You have an idea you want to drag that lake, and then you get there and you're like, shit, now I got to anchor. And good thing is a lot of those stumps are sticking up out of the water and you can tie to one. But I'm expecting Saturday to be great fit. I expect Saturday to be a good day, big fish day, uh, and not just a few of them. I would think it's going to be a lot of big fish. If you got the right bait and you're in the right spot, I'm counting on it. I'd say it's going to be a great day.
Chris, I've got asked why you're on that subject. I've been asked a few times, are you going to go live this weekend?
I may go live if I get the boat back. I hadn't been going live because I've just been enjoying fishing with my friends and fishing with my son. And we haven't done any live fishing this year. Normally we'd be live every trip, but this year I've focused just more on the friends and the family. When I go live, it's fun because I get a lot of people watching, and it's fun to catch a bunch of big fish while people are watching. But my son's not as involved, and when I got new guys on the boat, they don't care to live stream. They just want to have fun. So we'll see. If we're on my boat, it's going to be with Jesse Campbell. He's one of our Carolina Lake Weights teammates. He's my Mad Cats teammate. It should be, if we can get out there and hit them right, it should be a good day.
I know we've been asked the same questions. We've been. I'm gonna be honest. We've been trying to prepare. We've had a lot of stuff going on, but we've been trying to prepare for CatCon. So it's been so busy with us. So that's why, for the ones that had also asked us why we haven't been going live. But as soon as everything's over with, we definitely want to get everything started back up.
Yeah, it's that time of year where it's fun to have to go live because the fishing is just crazy good.
Yeah.
It's nonstop big fish action all day long. From the freaking first 2 minutes you put the rods in the water until the very last, rod comes out of the water. So
I know you ready to get done with the work week, get work over with, and so you ready.
I just want to get the boat back. I just want confirmation. Everything's fixed. He's got to get the lower unit, put it on, put some oil in it, and I let it eat. And my biggest thing is I like to take big baits when I travel fish. I like to have them caught. I don't know that I'm going to have time to do all that if I do go fishing. I got a guide buddy that's fishing tomorrow. I'm hoping he can get me some bait. I told him I need bait regardless of whether I get the boat back or not.
Well, Chris, I don't know if you see a trick. I'll let you post that. I want to say, man, when we see comments like that, it makes us feel good. I know Rebecca, she's out there.
Yeah, Trent, he fishes the jungle. So he's like, can I take this into the jungle? And I'm like, Trent, what are your other weights doing in the jungle? He's like, well, I'll lose everything. I'm like, well, you'll lose less weights. I was like, but, if you're going into the full forest, I did it but I'm not expecting to go do it every trip. I did it one day. We did a lot. I told Jamie, I'm going to go into the jungle. But we talked about how I should, rig everything and whatever. And I had to do a lot of different, I rigged different when I went up into that stuff. I suspended basically. I put my weights. I put my hooks right next to my demon dragon or my float. It was just, I was like, I'm getting rid of everything else, and that hook's going right next to that demon. And we did it. I think I lost one rig that day. Yeah, it's not something I'm going to do every trip because I believe a lot of times when you're going through that stuff, it's not your dragging weight, it's your hook that's getting hooked.
And that goes back, man. Prepping for what you're going to fish makes a big difference. If you take say, Chris, right now, your rigs right now, and you go up there, you're not set up for it.
Probably. Yeah, you'll lose them.
Yeah.
You'll lose them.
That's it.
You'll lose them almost instantly.
Yeah.
But I know I've been doing this a long time, and I told Jamie I'm going to do it because I think I can. Because just, success builds confidence. And I'd been having a ton of success fishing areas. I normally wouldn't have fished because I'd lost everything in there before. And so I was like, well, in order for me to really feel confident doing it live, because I don't want to lose everything live. That's freaking embarrassing to lose all your crap. So we discussed it. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I want to have success doing it. And so we came up with a game plan, and it worked.
And you got to prep for it and prep in the right way for it.
Yeah, if you're going to be dragging up in some snaggy stuff, you do need to change your rigs a little bit. You got to put your hook real snugged up next to your float. You don't want to have a super long line dragging over timber. Yeah. That's going to get hung every time. But if you shorten everything up, it's more of a suspended, maybe even a bottom bumping type deal. And then you put your hooks up by your weights. Up by your floats. You'll get through most everything.
That's it.
And guys, snag proof. But
one thing y'all noticed about here at Carolina Lake Weights, we're going to be honest with you. Everything is not 100%. By no means. I don't care if you think you've got the best of the best. Nothing's ever 100%. I'm going to be very truthful with you. But one thing I can guarantee you is if you properly set up for what you're going to fish, and if you're going to fish that style, you will lose a lot less or maybe nothing if you're prepped correctly.
I agree. And even when I've gotten lazy, Jamie, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw out some long lines, even though I'm up shallow. I'll still get damn near all of them back almost every time.
Yep.
You will lose one, and you think, well, if I would have not been lazy, I probably could have got those back. But
and that's like I said, man. We're gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna shoot it to you straight and be very honest with you. So prepping is everything. I will say that. But we appreciate every and each one of you, man. It's awesome hearing those.
Chris, that circle hook is what grabs a lot of timber. Yep. And the reason I know is because when I'm hung up, I can feel my dragging weight come through the snag, and it's almost like a slingshot effect. I'm like, and I feel that hook hang. And then when I break it off, I reel it in, and I got a piece of timber that's 1.5 feet, 2 foot long attached to my hook. So I know that's what's happening a lot of the times.
And if you watch that pole, time that dragging weight comes over, that pole's going to tell you everything. Plain and simple. You're going to watch it, and then if you're going to get hung, it's going to be right after that thing falls right over the backside of it.
So one thing I'll tell you guys is that will help you get a lot of your crap back. When that thing starts to bury, don't run over there and start trying to mess with it and unhang it. Let that thing completely start pulling drag. Once it starts pulling drag, then grab that thing, because 9 times out of 10 with the Carolina Lake weight, that thing will come through that snag. And if you're really putting a bunch of tension on it, trying to rip it through, it's going to hang on that hook. And that hook ain't coming undone unless you break the snag off and you bring the whole limb in with you. But if you just leave it and let it try to work itself through, that Carolina Lake weight more times than none will come through the snag. It's the hook when you're trying to rip that thing through that's hanging on something.
Yeah, definitely let it do its job. It's designed to work a certain way, so let it definitely work, and you will definitely get it back a lot of times by just sitting there and watching it.
Matthew Kiker says he uses them for anchor fishing. And, over the last year, I can't tell you how many guys I've come in contact with that say the same thing. They're like, man, when you're using all these high dollar hooks and high dollar floats and rattles, and you got a lot of money invested, and guys are like, man, I got to pay for this is expensive. That's expensive. But in the long run, you actually save a ton of money if you're getting all your stuff back. You start losing a $12 rig, and before I would lose sometimes. I would say average 2 to 3 per trip. On a bad day, I'd lose 8. You know, when you're talking about a $10, $12 rig, it starts
I tell
becoming
you,
a pretty big.
fishing's expensive anymore. And I tell you, I myself, I want to get all my stuff back, plain and simple.
I do too. Fishing's expensive. I want to give a shout out before we knock this thing out. Y'all know I've been using Shimano Takotas now for almost 8 years. I switched from Abu Garcia 6500s when my reel foots started breaking at the tack weld. Contacted a guide friend of mine, Michael Littlejohn. He said, try these Shimano Takotas. These are a trolling saltwater reel. And when I did, all my problems ended. And I hadn't had a single one break in that 7.5 years. I fish hard every week, and I was going through Abu's 6, 8. On a bad year, I'd have 10 of them going to the shop. And I would just I had 24, 26 of them. When they would break, I'd throw them in a bucket. When I would get a bucket full, I'd send them in for repairs. I switched to these Shimano Takotas. They quit breaking. I had the first one break last weekend. I contacted Shimano, told them, kind of gave them my spiel, my story, and I got a new one in the mail today. They sent me a free Shimano Takota. Basically said thanks for all the support over the last 7 years. The catfishing sector's really exploded over the last year and a half, and so they said thank you and gave me a free reel. I'm not sponsored by these guys, but I can tell you Shimano is just phenomenal. And to give me a free reel like that for doing basically nothing other than liking their stuff, I think is awesome. I just wanted to give a shout out, tell y'all how much I love my Shimano Takota reels. I know there's a ton of great reels out there, but this is the best one I've ever used, and it ain't even close. So,
well, Chris, on that note, man, do you want to give some more shout outs?
Yeah, well, Daniel says he's seen me drag over a barbed wire fence on a live and not lose anything with Carolina lake weights before. That's true. I had 10 rods all buried at the same time, and I'm like, and my buddy Mike's like, yeah, there's a barbed wire fence, and I look down at my phone, I'm like, that's right where Mike said this barbed wire fence is. And I'm thinking, and this was pretty new into using Carolina lake weights. It was an online tournament we were fishing. It was a no graph tournament, so I didn't know what was down there. And all 9 rods, just one at a time, just or 10 rods. It was 10 rods. All came off. I'm like, oh my God. Thank the Lord.
I was watching that, Chris, and I'm sitting over there sweating. And me and Rebecca both, we were like, oh. And all of a sudden, here they come, started popping up, and I'm like, yes. But, guys, I want to say this.
Butch, let me tell you, the Ambassador 6500, I call that the standard of catfishing reels. It's the standard. It's really good for most applications. And it did me good for 25 years. My issue started being when I started dragging these giant planer boards with giant baits, catching these giant fish. It just puts a different stress when the boat's rocking and the rod that rod is up against that rod holder, and there's something about the neck because it's a forged neck. That's just, it's all one piece. And if you'll look at that, I mean, it's all solid, one piece. Okay. The problem with the 6500 is it's got a tack weld. It's just one little, it's like, and then it's got another one on the other side. 2 tack welds is the only thing that's holding that whole freaking thing together. So when you got flex like this from wave action, from rod in a rod holder that's at an angle, and a big fish takes it down, there's a lot of stress on that piece right there.
And not only that, Chris, I used to have a reel repair business, and you're right, the 6500s and stuff, with the worm gears, with the drag
Paul, the
systems,
worm, I would smoke. I'd smoked a bunch of drags where it would like, I don't know what they call it, but it like turns it to glass. It just makes it where it like melts it. It's it just, I don't know what they call that, but I would melt that drag. The pawl would break. The worm gears would break. I would have the washers wear out. They're not sealed. These are saltwater sealed. There's no water getting inside the inside the ball bearings.
And then you got the plastic gear that's over on the left-hand side. If you're using a right-handed reel, you're going to take that and you're going to strip them gears right out, plain and simple. So, I mean, they're good reels for the purpose. But when you step up to what you're doing, you need that extra beefy reel, that's for sure.
I'd say the 6500 is great for most applications, and I still like them for anchoring. I still use them for anchoring.
That's it.
But I also, in my short time of anchoring, I still break them. While these get used every week heavily, and the first one's gone down, it was the pawl gear. The level line quit working. We got hung on something, a tree, a big tree. We were coming across this levee, had a tree on it, and it got buried, and it somehow Jesse picked it up. I'm gonna blame it on Jesse because technically I didn't break the thing. It was Jesse.
So that goes, I mean, what type of fishing you're going to do? You're going after big trophy cats, get the equipment for it. If you're just going moderate, just beginning, just kind of the middle stage, no problem with the 65s. So it's all how you prep for that, what you're going to do.
Butch, the Dakotas are more expensive, but when you're talking about, one of these Abus now is $165 or $179 or whatever they are with the power pump, because you can buy a basic one, but that ain't what you're gonna be wanting. So once you get what you want, it's $180 reel, and one repair job, which I think sucks, having to send your stuff in and be without it. And I'll tell you what it costs to ship something now. It's $26 to ship. And then you got the repair and the part. 7 years ago, the repairs were $79. I don't even know what I haven't had to have anything repaired.
Chris,
in 7 years, but what is the repair now? I mean, it's basically the price of a freaking reel.
Yeah. Just so back that long ago, I was actually, for me to touch that 65, depending on what was wrong with it, you're looking between $70 to $80, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And a good cleaning, on those, with I know you don't clean a whole lot.
I don't even clean mine. These
That's what I'm saying.
Like, these are made for salt, like they're all sealed up.
Yeah.
So, I know you're supposed to clean them, but I fish every weekend. Well, I'm going to send all my reels in for cleaning. No, I'll wait till they're broken. They can clean the thing when it's broke. It took 7 years to break one. So,
wow.
Now I may have a different experience than other guys, but from my experience, man, you put one of these in your hand and you're like, okay, that's different.
Yeah.
That's like freaking work of art right there. I mean, everything is just so tight. There's not even a shimmy in any part of it. And the cranking power is just incredible on the crank, like compared to 6500, feels like a kiddie reel. This thing cranks hard. The drag system in it's got 2 drag washers instead of 1. It's just better, for what I do.
Yeah.
For what I do. Pulling planer boards. It's got a high gear ratio. So when you're cranking everything in, I can reel my stuff in twice as fast as with the 6500 5.3. This is a 6.2. Makes a huge difference. 37 inches per crank. You're sucking that stuff in. It's just, coming to the boat, even with a big planer board and a big bait. It's easy. It's like
And
comes on
when
in.
you got a lot of rods out, you definitely want that. I mean, you want to get that thing in and get kind of over with that. But guys, I'm gonna tell you, Chris, this is our first show back for the new year, man. I
had a great time. We got off topic, but that's pretty much standard procedure for this show.
We're so happy. We don't have no script or nothing. I mean, Sean, we throw that stuff out within the first 5 seconds. And guys, this has been unbelievable. It's been a lot of fun. It's been energetic, man. I think we've learned a lot tonight, man.
I had a great time. The people seem to be engaged. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I got some guys I know that say they want to come on. Just getting them to come on is getting them to commit. Seems like it's like, man, come on, man, just commit. But I want to get Kevin Parks on. I want to get Colton Howell Multi-Bar on. What's up, Backlash? Welcome in, buddy.
Yes, what's up, buddy?
I still want to keep doing the how-to stuff and trying to help guys, because I get more guys saying, man, I really enjoy the how-to shows more than the interview type shows. I like them both. We're gonna keep mixing it up.
And what I like, man, is we get into our shows. So like tomorrow, man, normally the day after the show, me and Krista will talk. Hey, what can we do better? What did you think we've done? And far as what I'm looking, I mean, everybody's learning, everybody's having fun. We're totally different. We want to have that laughter. We want to have fun with y'all guys. And if you've got any questions, just ask us. We're going to tell you. And so, man, this has been a blast.
Yeah, I'd like to do some fishing shows like JTC said. And, me and JTC been talking about fishing together for years live. And Jamie, I can't believe me and you ain't ever fished together. I mean,
I know.
But you barely even get to fish anymore. You're too damn busy.
You know something, Chris? I'm going to say this. Rebecca, she's still out in the shed right now doing drifting weights and stuff. Our project, when we started this thing, we were like, oh, yeah, we're not going to be able to fish as much as we used to. This is going to – but, it's worth it.
You had no idea.
We had no idea, but it's been so much worth it. But if I didn't get to fish another day, but yet our products is so many hands and people are loving them. People are catching more fish. It would be worth it. I will tell you that. If I didn't get to fish another day, because
you know what? That to me, this past year has been really, I don't know. It's been, what's the word I'm looking for? Guys have been telling me, man, I've been watching the show. I've had my best year of fishing, and a lot of it I've learned on the show from seeing what you're doing and listening to your guys talk about it and sharing. And I love that, man. I love that. I told you when we started this, I hope that we can help some guys iron out some of the curves and flatten some of the hills, because I know how painful this is. Supposed to be fun, but fishing can be freaking painful if you're not doing. If you got my mindset, when you're not doing well, it's not fun.
That's it.
And I think helping guys have success, as long as you're going to turn them loose, I'll tell you everything you want to know. Anything that I know, I'll share with you.
And Jeremy,
I don't know everything, but
Jeremy's got a good idea, and we've done it a couple times actually. Would love interviewing some people fishing sometimes while we're on our show, having you fishing and talking. That's a lot of fun. We've actually had that to happen a couple times this past year, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd like to, like he said, I'd like to have a show where we're all fishing and invite some other guys up to fish, and do the show like that, catching fish and talking about what we're doing while we're on the water. Why are we doing this? And I think that's what's cool about live fishing is you can go watch these other videos and stuff, and it's just the highlight tapes. But a lot of my buddies are like, man, I like your show when you go live because it's real. and you get to see the ups and downs of the whole trip. And, you know, one minute you're up, you're down and you're feeling like crap. And then the next minute you're on top of the world and kicking some ass. And that's the beauty of fishing, really.
Yeah. And,
There's so many roller coasters throughout one trip.
and you know, Kristen, I'll tell everybody, we're going to keep it real with you. We're either going to catch fish, or we're not going to catch fish, but we're going to keep it real with you at all times.
Thanks, David. We'll make it happen, buddy. We'll make it happen. We'll get JTC and we'll get Jamie and myself. We'll get it figured out.
Yes,
it's really a great time of year for doing that.
And David, I want to say too, man, thank you for being such a long time supporter of all of us too, brother.
Yeah, David's awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, David. It's
and I want to say to all the ones in chat tonight, thank you so much for supporting us and believing in what we're doing here at Carolina Lake Weights, here on the show. We take great pride in knowing that we're actually, you know, everybody's loving what we're doing.
You know what, Chris? I think that's really what probably sets you apart from a lot of. Now, some of my guide buddies are very open books, but I think it's super cool that you're willing to teach guys, and you're willing to be open and give the secrets, because not all guys are like that. And I think it's cool to help guys. You know, I always say, as long as you're turning them loose, what does it matter? In 2 or 3 more days, I can go back and catch the same fish. And how do I know? Because I've done it. I've caught the exact same fish 3 days later. And that seems crazy and improbable, but fish got to eat. And as long as you're turning them loose and taking care of them, what does it matter if you're helping other guys go catch fish?
That's it.
So
that's it.
Props to you, buddy. I'm glad to have you as a friend. And that's probably why we get along, because you're a helpful guy and willing to help other people. And we're both Texas boys, so we're linked that way too.
Yeah, Backlash, we definitely got to get together soon and let's do a trip, my friend. Let's do some fishing. I always look forward to. I know when we get people all the time ask us about going fishing and stuff. We've actually had some fishing trips with what we call, a lot of the good people here locally that, we've done a lot with, and we've had some to come in town and had a lot of good fellowship. Number one, that's what it's about, and just getting to know each other and enjoying ourselves.
So for the guys that don't know, if you want to come fish in Texas, my buddy Chris Moody, you can find him on Facebook. He fishes Texas Fishing Addiction. They catch giant alligator gar in the summer. He slays trophy blue catfish in the winter. He fishes Lake Richland Chambers, which is a great lake that is out of the Metroplex. It does not have nearly the fishing pressure as some of our bigger lakes. So, and he's got them dialed in, man. If you want to catch eaters in early fall, spring, summer, he put you on eaters, or you can go catch a trophy size alligator gar on the Trinity River. Come in town. He's a good dude, always helpful. We'll give him a shout out. And another shout out I'd like to give is Smackdown Catfishing. They've been really good to me lately. They've been great to Jamie, promoting us, building us up, showing us a ton of love, giving us awesome products. Great guys over there. I can't say enough good stuff about them. I love those guys over there.
They've definitely rigged out that boat, that Pro Cat outside, man. That thing looks very sharp. And, I want to lead into also saying, Dale's Tackle, man, good guy. I mean, a lot of great products. Guys, definitely go and support Dale's Tackle. And,
I've gone on and off with Dale's hooks over the last 3 or 4 years. I'll try some other hooks, and then I'll go back to Dale's. And I'll try some other hooks, I'll go back to Dale's. Solid hook, man. Yep. It's really good hook. It's like a double action style hook. I like that 12-aught, what I use from Dale's. And they just flat out good hooks. And I like that. You know, Dale's a good guy too. So
Yeah,
anybody that's going to be nice, friendly, and supportive, I'm probably going to get along with you. And Dale's that kind of guy. So
that's for sure. And also, Operation Vets with Nets guys, go and support them guys over there, and they're doing tremendous work for a lot of our veterans. Man, definitely go and support them. They're definitely out there. They're taking a lot of the vets out fishing.
yeah.
Doing
So
a
if
lot.
you know a vet that needs some real therapy, operationvetswithnets.org. You can go on the website. You can sign up. You can get them signed up for a trip. We'll take them out fishing. One of our captains, we got captains all over the country. They'll take you. We take you out fishing for some real therapy. It's all free. It's just for fun. We got guys that are really high level that can catch a lot of fish, and some guys just fun fish. Whatever you want to do, we can probably figure it out. Operation Vets with Nets is an awesome organization. We're blowing up over the country. I'm fortunate enough to have been working with them. I got Jamie on with them, and I think it's cool having awesome teammates that are supportive of each other. Rich Segara, he runs the organization. He's a big supporter of us, and we're going to support him back. Jamie, you're donating some stuff for a tournament. I'm one of the captains that takes guys out, but I'm also on the board of directors.
It's
I'm
definitely
proud to be on that with that organization. I think it's probably one of the coolest things in catfishing going right now. Just to give back to help some guys get that real therapy on the water.
I can say, man, it's been an absolute honor being partnered with Operation Vets with Nets and Rich and them guys. It's just unbelievable at the amount of work that they're doing over there. And I'm
So,
gonna tell you,
Jamie, I don't know if you're really up to date with what's going on over there, because there's a lot of stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. But Operation Vets with Nets is about to be nationwide, full on, like a household type name. So I know when we all first started doing this, I said, man, this Operation Vets with Nets thing is really cool. It's something that, we all have a heart for these vets. And I think it'd be great to be able to be a part of it and help them get to where they need to go. And man, has it exploded in the last 4 months.
I
It's
can tell you,
crazy.
ever since we've been associated, and like I said, we can't say enough about them. It's been a blessing. Just seeing the videos of the fishing trips a lot of these guys has been on, man, it just touches your heart. And if it don't, you're not real. I promise you. But
Yeah, yeah.
watching the videos, to seeing, what we've seen, it's just been heart touching. And I will say this. I wish we could get every one of them out on the water. I would.
Yeah, even if you can't be get if you know a guy, get in contact with Operation Vets with Nets. That if you know a guy that needs to get some real therapy,
Yes.
get in touch with operationvetswithnets.org. If you don't want to do it, get them to do it. And if you don't know anybody and you just want to be a helpful type person, you can donate.
Yeah.
It's a nonprofit organization. We're trying to get another vet boat. Right now, we've got a wheelchair boat, but we've also got a bunch of people that just volunteer, like myself, who go out and take guys fishing when they need some therapy. So we are trying to raise funds for a vet boat, for the second vet boat. So it's going to be more of a travel type boat, where Rich can get out on the road and go to the vets with an aluminum boat rather than the pontoon, which is a wheelchair boat right now. So
definitely, guys, go over there and support them in any way that you can. I mean, I know it'd be much appreciated, but definitely go check their website out. They've got some products over there on the website. Buy buy some of their clothing and stuff.
Yeah, buy a hat,
Yeah,
buy some
buy a
gear,
hat.
but really make a donation. Donate $10 if that's all. I mean, $10 is like a fast food meal, and it makes a difference. If nothing else, it makes you feel good. So
That's it.
go make yourself feel good, and while you're feeling good, you'll make a difference. So
That's it. And guys, before we end the show, go over and check out our YouTube channel, Carolina Lake Wakes, man. Definitely, we got over, I think, 121 videos over there. I know we don't have nothing current, but go over and support us, man. Check us out. We appreciate you. And if you don't have Chris's YouTube channel, man, what y'all waiting on, guys? Come on over.
yeah, El Gato Azul TV. You can find us over on. We got a little Facebook group. We got a YouTube channel. Come over, give us a little follow, show us a little support. I'm not really trying to grow. I'm just having fun doing this. And I told Jamie it makes no difference to me how many subs we get. I enjoy helping guys. We're going to keep doing that because we enjoy it. This is what, to me, this is the fun part of the catfishing.
Yep. That's it. And come over to our Facebook group page. Come over, join us. Let's make some memories with some of our youth anglers. With some of the youth kids out there. Let's take them and get them on the water also.
Yeah, get those kids out there, get them fishing. We're going to build the youth group. Jamie's allowed me to build the teams. I think we got the best team in catfishing. We're more of a family rather than a team. We got all varieties of guys, from military veterans to police officers we've got a preacher, we've got tournament anglers, we got weekend son and dad teams like me and my son. I love the teams we've built. I really love the youth angler group that we've built.
And Chris, I will say this about Billy, man. I look forward to every Sunday morning our the prayer.
I do too. I love Billy Beaver, great guy.
Our devotion there, I mean, it's excellent. I look forward to getting up on Sunday mornings and reading, the word. I really do.
Yep, I agree. He's probably one of our strongest teammates. I love having him. I just love the diversity of our group.
That's it.
All different guys from different walks of life. It just fits really in with the kind of the family vibe that's Carolina Lake Wakes, which is different than any other company I'm with. A bunch of companies. It's anything close to Carolina Lake Wakes. Well, brother, I appreciate you letting me be a part of it, man. I love it.
Appreciate you. I appreciate Jeremy, JTC. I appreciate all of our supporters, man. And, guys, let's support each other this year.
Yeah, let's have a great 2024. Yeah, let's bring the fun back. Here's the number one thing I want to say to you guys. This fishing thing has gotten so cutthroat with the brands and with all the guys that are envious of other guys. Let's not think about what other guys are doing. Let's bring the fun back to fishing and just share your journey, have fun doing it, and try to help other guys improve.
That's it.
Let's forget about all the other crap that comes along with all this fishing that's gotten where it's making fishing not fun.
That's it. But guys, it's been a great show, Chris. Can't wait till the next one, brother.
Let's do it again.
All right.
All right, guys. Tight lines. God bless. Azul out.
Later, y'all.